Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusters.pod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
So boys, I know that generally speaking, everyone here is a fan of physical media when collecting their films, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, you're moving towards streaming.
I am. I just don't have much. I went just through various moves and storage space and stuff like that. I just had to get rid of it, basically. Much to my chagrin.
I'm also in the process of selling all mine, so...
That's true, you're clearing out, actually, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
that doesn't stand.
No, it doesn't stand. Well, okay, but it still leads into my point, which is I don't buy physical media anymore for my sins. Listen, it's too expensive, and I'm a grown up, and I've got to pay fucking bills, so I can't simply. However, the other day online, I saw all this news from the producers of the Blair Witch Project saying that they were releasing the ultimate edition of the film based on the high 8 tapes that they actually used to film in the woods, which had never been properly converted. It was converted for theatre, and then the DVD and Blu-ray adaptations were made from the theatre print. And they said this was never how it was meant to be watched, so people are seeing the frame rate completely out. It doesn't look like authentic home video footage. So finally they've released this physical media copy that had all this TLC, all this love into it. And 10 minutes before we came on air, the bloody company who sold it, and this is one of the few times that I've bought a physical media because I thought, okay, that deserves its place. The fucking company have said, the Blair Witch Project disc replacement program. Unfortunately, our release of the Blair Witch Project has been affected by an audio channel mapping error, blah, 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 blah. And basically they're recording everything. And it's like,
oh shit.
Listen, you can't afford to fuck up right now. If you want me to invest, if you want me to own something, you got to send me it pristine so I can say I'm better than all of you lot because I've got this copy. And if I can't say that, if you're sending out 40 discs, I'm streaming everything forever ever. Forget it, Criterion, you're out.
That's nuts. Well, they say audio channels were messed.
They say that the audio mapping error, which presents the theatrical cut in dual mono rather than the original stereo, which is what it should have been. We're very sorry for this, so we're now in the process of fixing and producing corrected this, and they're not going to send it out to me. I have to get in touch with them and fill out a form to get the disc.
Jesus.
I must admit, I was really tempted to get that because Blair Witch is one of my favourites. So I was very, very, very tempted to part with somebody like you, Ben. But I'm kind of glad I didn't now.
Is this also the one that's in like black and white as well? Or is that different?
They say something like there's 3 cuts. There's the original cut, the new cut for Second Sight, and the festival cut, which is like a sort of rough around the edges, slightly longer takes, some additional scenes. I don't know about black and white. Blair Witch Project. For me, number 2 horror film of all time.
It's definitely my top 5, Blair Witch. Definitely.
Give us the other 4.
It's not for me.
Oh God, I can't remember. What did I put? I was on a podcast recently, The Creative Psychopaths, and I did my top 5, and I'm trying to frantically remember what was in it because it's probably changed now.
I bet you went Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of them?
No.
The Exorcist?
5 was Hellraiser.
Oh, lovely.
Never seen it still. Blind spot.
4 was Blair Witch, I think.
Yeah.
3, American Werewolf in London.
Oh, hence the poster, of course, yeah.
And then it was Exorcist and Wicker Man.
Well, you got 3 out of 5 on your walls.
Yeah.
technically, could you not class Jaws a horror film?
Well, I do, but Jaws is always my favourite film. It's like the number one film for me. So, a bit of variety, and I leave that out of the horror lists.
Hellraiser is a great addition in the top 5. That's a curveball. Wouldn't get it in many top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your 5, Paul? Would you say?
Oh, I don't know.
I know you've got a list.
Top my 5. I haven't got a list.
Oh no, that's the franchises. You've got top franchises.
Yeah, ranking franchises. It'd probably be something along the lines of, American Psycho, number 1, if you're counting that as a horror. Then probably Devil's Rejects.
Oh, yes.
What else?
Yeah.
Saw would be up there. The first one. Oh shit, man. I might have to just give you my top 3. I can't even think. Mine's going blank.
I've got a crossover with you. So mine is Halloween, Blair Witch Projects, yes to Devil's Rejects, yes to Saw, and then I would probably throw in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it depends on what day you ask me, because the other days I would throw in Scream, because Scream is ultimate.
Well, apart from Devil's Rejects, there's some good choices.
He fucking hates Rob Zombie.
How dare you?
Oh, no, fuck
I also get it though. I get it.
Peter, when I saw Devil's Rejects in the cinema many, many years ago when it came out, there were about 5 other couples in there at the beginning of the film, and half hour in, every one of them had walked out.
Wow. That's an achievement.
I know.
I've only ever... Do you know what? And it was only quite recently that I saw the first time I've ever seen anybody walk out of a film. What was Joker, Folly of Due.
Well, but for different reasons.
But not me, no.
You two they're probably the strongest champions, and I know you don't both absolutely love it, but don't hear many good things about it.
I wouldn't say I'm a strongest champion.
I rewatched it. I rewatched it again last week, and I actually enjoyed it more on a rewatch.
I feel like it could happen with me as well. I don't know that I'm ever going to go above a 7, but I can just settle into it a bit more, and I kind of understand more what he's trying to say and do. So
yeah, that definitely sort of changed my sort of going into it with that thought process. Definitely made it sort of stand out that little bit more. But I still think that the musical numbers are too much.
Yeah, they're not enough.
I like the fact that they're in there, but some of them just last too long. And you had all those sort of dreamy sequences in the first one, and they were just pitched right, and they were nice, short and sweet. But some of the musical numbers just go on far too long.
I just wanted them to lean into it more. Just give me real proper singing, big Broadway numbers. Just do that, and I'll be happy.
A Hamilton-style version of it.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah. Get Lin-Manuel Miranda on it.
Yeah. They could have taken it on the roads if it had got really successful. They could have done the shows. Yeah, you would have loved that. Anyway, who is this strange voice that we're hearing and haven't introduced?
This very strange voice. It's Mr. Podcast himself, who has all the podcasts. It's Mr. Movie Duel, Mr. Movie Duel, Mr. Free Men and a Mixtape, and Mr. The So-Called X-Files podcast. It's Peter. How you doing, Peter?
Hello, I'm very, very well, thank you. I feel a bit like the sort of other woman really here, and like sort of like
my mistress and my long-time wife.
Yeah, I won't tell you what the comparison was that I told Ben and Sean the other night, but
it was
it was graphic.
It was graphic.
You're our Adam today, basically. He's our mistress. He's the mistress of the podcast.
He is. Adam is the... Not everyone has this experience. Adam is the wife in the relationship where the love has absolutely left the relationship, and you're just sticking around for comfortable reasons, and you both know you should be getting out of it, but you're still sticking around. And when they leave and go on holiday for a week or two, you actually have better time.
Sounds about right. It's lovely to have you, Peter. We've both been on Movie Duel. Ben is part of Free Men and a Mixtape, and it's wonderful to finally have you here with us today.
I know. Well, I think we actually started talking like a year ago. I think about doing something.
We did.
So I'm very excited to finally be here.
Lovely.
It is very exciting. It feels
I
weird.
think we got very close. I think, was it 96 when you were doing 96?
Yeah, I think it was, yes. Yeah.
And I was quite disappointed that, because I was going to pick Brast Off, and that's a fucking great film.
Oh.
We may cover it yet, but like there may be some future Patreon perks or something which allow additional choices for a year that we've done. So who knows?
Maybe we might be shaking up Patreon a bit. Who knows? We'll see.
I don't know. It might be changing the game entirely.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, it is very delightful. We love. There's been a long time coming for Peter to come on the podcast. We like it when. The podcasts that we listen to, we get a chance to go on their shows and come on our shows. It's quite a lovely thing that we got going on, that we can do all this sort of stuff. It's cool, isn't it? Considering the idea, the brainchild for everyone essentially starts with you at home going, oh, it'd be cool to talk about movies with some people. And then you're like, well, here's the people we're going to release our episodes. And then you hear other people doing it as well. And it's like guest featuring, it's like rap collaborations and stuff. It's a beautiful thing. It is lovely.
It's our own little podcast universe, isn't it? And it's nice just to interact with all these beautiful people. What a wonderful world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He also has that very calming voice. Many jokes have been made about it in the past anyway, but Peter has that totally calming fucking voice, like it's made for smooth radio.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It's almost like shipping forecast. You're having trouble sleeping, here's the calm voice that's going to see you through. Don't worry about it, everything's going to be okay. Very good pilot voice, indeed.
Thank you very much.
Do you do the tannoy at work?
No, we don't. We don't have a tannoy now. No.
You should get one, and you should use it.
I used to do them at a previous job.
At the strip club. He was, and now, coming on to stage 4.
It's Bubbles.
Miss Lavender.
Miss Lavender Bubbles. Get your wallets out, boys. He turned American for that particular strip club for some reason. Anyway, it's good to have you, Peter.
Absolutely.
Good to be here.
So, Peter, it's our 2001 round, and you have jumped in the middle of our round and thought, hey, I got a little film. I've got a film from 2001 that we're going to talk about. And what is it, Peter? What are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about Claire Denis' Trouble Every Day.
Why? Why is this coming today?
Well, I mean, I've been on a few different sort of podcasts, and I've always generally taken something on that I either love or I've seen before and want to talk about it for whatever reasons. And I thought actually it might be quite interesting to pick a film that I haven't seen, because I've not seen this before. And it's been languishing on my watch list for a long time. I like to dip in and out of the French extremity films. I find you can't really watch too many of them in a row. So it was Trouble Every Day.
Wicked.
Let's do it.
And we've never seen it, have we, Ben? You haven't seen it?
Never seen it. The only thing that I did know was Claire Denis, and I thought I'd seen more films of hers than I had, but I hadn't. I'd only seen that High Life one.
Oh shit! She did that film.
Correct, she did.
Oh, okay.
I've not seen any of the other ones. Had you guys heard of this film before?
No.
All right.
It was on my watch list as well, for some reason or another. I don't know why. But High Life, terrible film.
Yeah, High Life, infamously, we said many years ago, I think, we were like, what an awful film. But it is.
Yeah.
But many people would like it. The only thing that I very much appreciated when you picked this film was, oh, cool, it's another international film. Yeah. Another foreign language film. I don't have to, it's not 3 in the hole because someone's picked an English film. You actually continued the trend. The entire year has been foreign language film. Fascinating.
There were a lot of interesting films from 2001, but there weren't any that I really thought I could be passionate about either. Yeah. So I thought, it's got to be something that I haven't seen, and this sort of stood out because it's been on my watch list. And there was another couple, and they were both foreign language as well. So I think it would have been foreign language, whatever. Even though it's not full on foreign language. I think the majority of the film is probably in English, because there's not actually that much. There's not actually that much
talking in
it.
No. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of other business.
Well, before we get too deep into chatting about this film. Let's just do the staples before we get into it. First of all, we got our wonderful Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. We can get exclusive episodes, you can come on the show, you can just suggest films for us to do. It's a wonderful little family. And I just got to say, we just got a new bloody patron. The wonderful Tia from the Alien Effect podcast is our wonderful new patron.
Hugely appreciated, Tia. And look, this is the magic of podcasting, as I mentioned, because we only discovered Tia because of Peter. Because Peter brought up the fact that he had been on her podcast.
She's amazing. I'm just falling in love with Tia. The podcast is brilliant.
Yeah.
And she's just an amazing person. Absolutely amazing person.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I've enjoyed every episode she's put out so far, and maybe there might be plans for me to go on beginning of next year or something. I don't know. Maybe that's going to happen.
I should say so.
Well, thank you so much, Tia. Really, really appreciate it. And that's at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. And you can have a lovely time with all those wonderful people we have on there. So that leads us on to the final staple of the intro. And that is the beautiful little quiz we have. And, we got scores. I'm on 17. Ben's on 18. He's beating me. But Adams, he's languishing in bottom place on 12. And if you've done all the quizzes, I normally ask Ben and Adam 2 questions about the film we're doing. And today, it's going to be trouble every day. But I'm not going to be the host. It's going to be lovely Peter over here. He should have prepared 2 questions for us. Am I right, Peter?
You're correct, Paul, yes.
Oh, wonderful stuff. So, without further ado, I'm just going to hand the reins over to you, Peter. It's time for you to be our wonderful quiz host today.
Okay. Well, this was really hard to find some questions in this film, but I've got a couple. Well, I prepared 3, so if you wanted 3, you can have 3.
Oh, I think we should have 3.
Go for it.
Are we saying, Paul, if you and I don't get it right, the point goes to Adam?
It goes to Adam. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Okay. So, in the opening scene, what is sat on the dashboard of the truck that stops?
Oh, shit. I don't remember. A monkey?
You're in the right ballpark.
Oh,
but I'm
so
wrong.
it's a teddy bear.
No.
Oh,
Adam gets the point.
What was it?
It was a fluffy bunny.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, God. Do you know what? That is so harsh. Peter is a fucking harsh one. You said an animal and I said a teddy bear, and it's not right because it's fluffy fucking bunny.
And you also said bear.
Technically, it's a teddy bear, but
yes.
Yeah. If you'd have said teddy bunny.
Teddy bunny, yeah. Should have been more specific.
Gone home with a point. So, what room number do the Browns stay in at the hotel?
321. I saw it. The only thing I saw. And I was like, weird number because it's counting down 321.
Wow.
There you go.
It's interesting how people's brains work. You clearly just connect to numbers. That number was just burnt in regardless.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Why you got numbers burnt into your brain? For you think?
Well, you see a number, you just like you absorb the number, but then it's like that's a weird number, 321. It's like it's descending, So I had a whole thing, a thought process of the number, so it stuck.
Maybe Paul was Ted Rogers in a previous life.
Who's Ted Rogers?
No.
He did a show called 321.
Oh yeah, and he went 321.
Bin.
Yeah, 321. Okay, yeah. Listeners can't see the hand gesture we were doing, but that's what he did.
Ted Rogers is.
Yeah.
And then finally, in the Browns hotel room, the lampshade is covered by a shawl, but what picture is on the shawl?
Mona Lisa.
Oh, God. He's overtaken me for the first time all year. Well done, Paul.
I have, haven't I? Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
You're happy.
Thank you, Peter.
Miserable little victory.
I mean, I was a quiz host, so I shouldn't be winning. So, that just means I'm good at remembering trivia. Sorry.
What? The thing that sucks now is this is the first time that a host could go back to back.
Yeah.
If you just continue taking all points now for the remainder of this year, which is not very many episodes, you're going back to back.
It's me and you head to head for next episode as well.
Yes, it is. Oh, dearie me.
Oh, baby.
Attention. These were good questions, Peter. You did well, considering it is a very hard film to ask questions about.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Wonderful stuff. So, the points is me. I'm on 19. Ben's on 18. And Adam got the little point. He's on the 13 now. At least he got 1 point. There you go.
Yeah. I think Adam is mathematically out of the game now because I don't think we have 3
He's
main
done for.
episodes. Adam's gone, so he's may as well give up. Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. Well, thank you, Peter. Wonderful stuff. Shall we move on to talking about Trouble Every Day?
Mr. and Mrs. Brown.
Welcome to Paris, Mrs. Brown. I hope you'll enjoy your stay.
No, Dr. Semino doesn't work here anymore.
Look into my eyes.
I really need to find him.
You see trouble every day.
He just up and left.
His wife is sick.
Sun inside.
Corey's sick?
He is very sick.
Get inside you. You can blow. Such your slightest breath. And I know
You weren't alive with her? It's not the right word for it.
and this trouble every day. This trouble every day. This trouble every day. This trouble every day.
Do you believe in loyalty, Mr. Brown?
Right, everyone, today we're talking about Trouble Every Day. This is a film directed by Claire Denis. This is a spoiler episode, so you haven't seen the film. We're going to spoil it terribly for you, so you might want to go watch it first and then come back and listen. There's been nobody that's been in this film on another
No Vincent
podcast
Gallo
episode.
before.
No. He's in Goodfellas, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Who's he in
Yeah.
Goodfellas?
Can't remember. I just saw it on
Yeah.
the cast list.
He was credited. I'd looked at that. He was credited as Vinny Gallo, just to be more authentic, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know.
There you go. There you go.
I did look to see if you guys had covered Bean, but you haven't. So
As in
There we
Mr.
go.
Bean disaster movie?
yeah.
What, Gallo is in that?
No, the woman who plays his wife in this is the teenage daughter in Bean.
Oh.
Oh, the teenage daughter. Fuck me, God, wow.
Who has the bike accident at the end or something.
That's
Look at that.
wild.
What a link.
Yeah, there you go.
Great stuff. So Adam's not here today, so I'm going to throw it on you, Peter. You got to do. It might be a good plot description. You know, you might be like capable of doing a plot description, but you could also
Yes.
do a bad one if you wanted to be like Adam.
Shit. Okay. Yeah.
Basically, you can't go wrong at this point.
Yeah.
Even a bad one is great. It's what the listeners want.
It says Trouble Every Day tells the story of 2 couples, essentially, who are, or one of each of the couples are basically dealing with an affliction based around eating people or the temptation to eat people. And we basically just go on this journey of these 2 couples and how they're dealing with it and how they're trying to get through it, really.
Pretty much. Solid. Yeah, that's what happened.
Very solid.
Yeah. Benny, you got any facts about this film?
Very slim pickings online to find out information about the backstory on it and whatnot. What I will say is that it is Beatrice Dall's favourite film of hers, Beatrice Dall being the character whose name escapes me now, but the woman who was Corrie, bound into her room. Personal favourite of all her films. The title comes from a Frank Zappa song of the same name from the album Freak Out. And Vincent Gallo broke up with his girlfriend the day before shooting starts and supposedly channeled the emotional turmoil he was feeling into the performance. But considering he broke up with his girlfriend, I'm not really sure how much emotional turmoil he was feeling to put into his performance. And that's it. There's a score by Tinder Sticks, if anyone knows who Tinder Sticks are. British band, apparently. Or British outfit, anyway.
That's for you free men and Mixtape boys, you know? You just got
There we go.
No, I'd
You got
never
to tell
heard of
me.
Never
There you
never heard of these people.
Well, great stuff. Peter, this is your pick, so you get to decide on what first impressions you want in what order.
I think so. I'll go first, I think, and then Paul, then Ben.
Wicked.
Cool.
Over to you.
Okay, so like I said, I hadn't seen this film before. It was a first time watch for me, and I watched it probably a week and a half ago, and I thought I had a really sort of downbeat opinion of it after I'd watched it for the first time. But after a couple of days, it really stuck with me, and I was just thinking about it, which is always the mark of an interesting film, maybe not necessarily a good film. But like I said, I watched it again this week, and I think I found it a bit deeper on a second watch, but for me, it still feels like it's missing something on the whole, because I think it doesn't really make its mind up on what it wants to be. You know, is it a cannibal film? Is it a vampire film? Is it just, a metaphor for some kind of dementia? And
dementia?
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of interesting points about the brain. Obviously the main characters, the two male characters in the couples are both doctors who work on doing things with brains and stuff. And there's sort of intersections of the film where they're in a lab and people pulling apart brains and slicing them up and pulling stringy bits out and stuff. And I don't know. I still got the sense that that the film feels rather sort of creative, but almost like it's trying too hard. But the performances feel really weird as well. But I don't get the impression that they were meant to be. Gallo in particular, I've got a lot to say about Vincent Gallo, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Interesting.
But the other side of the film, the horror is done very, very effectively, and it definitely stuck with me. And in that moment, I was, there's certain scenes in films that you get that sort of that your heart sort of jumps up a little bit, and I definitely felt that a good couple of times in this film. And I think it is well made, but probably not as well made as it thinks it is. I've got a lot of confliction about this film.
Look at that shade. Probably not as well made as it thinks it is.
Love the shade.
Well, no, I mean, it just like I say, it just feels like it's maybe trying to be something, or she's not really made her mind up about what she's trying to sort of cover in the film. Some of the bits feel like very much like they're just scenes. And not really, but not in the way of like a David Lynch, where you will just have scenes in the middle of films or shows that he's made. This just feels very unbalanced.
Thank you for bringing up David Lynch in the podcast.
Well, it's got to be done, hasn't it? But then I think there is almost like a sweetness to the film as well. The interpersonal relationships and the sort of chemistry between the couples is very interesting and very sweet as well. So but then but you counter in that with scenes of just completely horrible stuff, which I suppose really doesn't help with the imbalance that I'm sort of trying to get across.
I get that.
Very good.
You want me?
Let's hear it.
Okay. So there's certainly something fascinating about this film, I think. I think the parallels of sexual tension and this sort of like bloodlust, I think they're portrayed like incredibly well. That kind of sexual energy is just like prevalent, and it's like there's barely any sex. It's like they're really happening for the most of it, right? Just these like close-ups of like necks and wrists, and like dreams of blood-covered butts and stuff like that. And
Blood-covered butts. That's
blood-covered butts.
It's an album title by Rob Zombie, probably.
This like sex and blood is just like it feels hand in hand in this, and I think that side of the film like works incredibly well, and it's kind of sexy, you know, this compulsion.
Is it now?
To just consume your partner, not necessarily in a physical sense, but this urge to like get closer, this kind of like buzzing energy to, or like lack of a better word, like to ravage them, right? I get that, right?
Have a little nibble.
Yeah, I mean in this it almost just feels like nymphomania. It's not really this bloodlust. It's just this like utter compulsion that can't be stopped, and like the heat of the moment. And I just think it's portrayed like very well, until our lead Shane decides he wants to do it, right? And he just feels like an absolute predator, and I hate it. Right? It's this creeping and grinding up on women on the train, forcing himself like down corridors with women, and it's like his eventual like giving into it with this maid kind of thing. He's gross. I don't like him, but in some ways that's exactly kind of the point, right? Maybe if at any point it's going to be made out of this film, that's kind of the point. It's like this fickleness of man. It feels consensual when a beautiful woman's basically throwing herself at you. And my lord, when we see her tear this guy apart, it's horrendous, but it's kind of great.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Yeah. Now the flip of that coin, no one wants to see that. It's just a horrible thing to watch. And it's like, but mostly it comes to the end of the film, and I kind of like with you, Pete, I just don't really feel much, or like I just don't get much out of it. I don't really know what it wants me to feel, and it's like I feel like the feeling it's portraying about the sex and the blood is executed perfectly, but the story is just not there for me. And
it feels like it's missing a couple of connective dots somewhere in the film.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's my first impressions, anyway.
Well, jumping on the back of that, I would say it is because it's just so stereotypically French. It's exactly what people who don't like foreign cinema will go, pretentiously French. And it is in very ways. It's the most French of French films that I've seen this year. And knowing High Life and what Denis is like, I know that she puts things on screen that you can take on a surface level or you can dig a little deeper, but she kind of keeps you at arm's length, so you almost don't want to. I think it's a very simple story. Thematically, for me, the only way, because I realised, like you guys would have done, 20 minutes, 30 minutes in, this is slice of life, cinema verite, documentary aesthetic, slow moving. I've got time to recalibrate and be like, right, what am I going to take from this? Because either I go, this is so fucking slow. What's going to happen? Sorry, my alarm going off in the middle of my opening comments. Disgraceful behaviour. I could either just go, this is going to be boring for the rest of it, or I can go, all right, what's my hook? What am I going to try and look for in this? And very quickly it was like, okay, is she a vampire? Is she a cannibal? Actually, what does it, regardless, what does it mean? What are you saying? And it's like, okay, let's look at this as forbidden love. Let's look at it as rape fantasy. Let's look at it as cheating, loving to cheat on someone, doing something forbidden. Let's look at it as kinks that are shameful. Let's look at it from that lens, and the need for all of these individuals, whether it's Gallo or her, to find an answer. Is the answer being locked away so you can't do anything? Like if you're a rapist, is the answer lock them away? Then they physically can't rape. They can't rape, but if they break out, they could. So isn't it better to treat whatever is the cause of it rather than just locking someone away? On the flip side, there's Gallo, who knows what's going on in his mind and is, despite himself, and everything you said is right, Paul, he's disgusting. He's really horrible, the situation he puts the women in. But he's trying to get a cure for himself. And I was like, okay, I can kind of get that, because maybe you're talking then about therapy and how you fix these social problems. But then when Gallo kills her, when they come face to face, like these two people are destined to be with each other, when Gallo kills her, for me it's like saying, I think it's important that it's a female director, because what she's saying is it's seen as a problem if a woman is feeling that way, not if a man is feeling that way. Because when he kills her, it's like that's the problem dealt with. But then she lingers with him, and you see that he's essentially haunted by the experience. So it's like you can't put all your failings, masculinity, you can't put all your failings on women. It's on you as well. And you can try and deal with the problem by saying that's not me, it's evil when it's over there. But ultimately, you've got to live with yourself. I don't know if any of that was the intention, but that's how I got my hooks into it and actually managed to quite enjoy it from the end. But I would be very keen to hear what you picked up on a second watch through, Peter.
Well, I think it was just sort of little pieces. It was delving into those, like you said. I think there's so many different conclusions that you can come to, and I like a film where you can make up your own mind and stuff. But I think you've still got to have certain pushes to be able to come to different conclusions. You know, I don't. You want a film that you maybe can come to a couple of conclusions with, or maybe 3 max. But like, you could come to 8, 9, 10 for this film, and that is still there. I think in the second watch, almost you maybe sort of take a few things off, but I think it was just. I was hoping to get a bit more about like the backstory and think, did I miss something in the first watch about, you know, the Leo's and Shane's sort of relationship, because they had a working relationship before the story of the film, and you know, did I miss bits of that on the first watch? But you don't. It's all very sort of there's sort of these little exposition dumps. You get the red-headed sort of female doctor who drops in a little bit and a few sort of nuggets here in like the middle of the film. But I just felt, I don't know, I just picked up on like little nuggets that made it more interesting, like Paul was saying about the sort of connection between sex and this compulsion that they have. And, you know, going back and watching it, and it's like Leo and Corey towards the start of the film, I think they're in together in the morning, and they're starting to sort of get it on, and she starts to lick him. You know, she sticks her tongue out when they're kissing and starts licking his face, and that, you know, and knowing everything else in the film that's already, you know, having seen the film before, that's then, you know, he knows if this goes on any further, he's, you know, getting his neck bitten or his nose bitten off or worse. Yeah. And I think it sort of settled things a little bit more for me, I think, on the second watch. That's the best way I can put it. I don't think it specifically made me like it more, but I think it made me sort of understand things a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess if you've got the bigger picture, and then when you're coming into it and you're seeing her on the side of the road and like the lorry, because you're immediately thinking, oh, this girl's in danger when you first see her, and it's like it feels uncomfortable, but then clearly she's the one in the powerful situation, and seeing. Yeah, you get that bigger picture. So seeing them in bed together and why he wouldn't want to sleep with her, and
and
I
then
totally agree.
Then it makes sense later on when Shane and not June Brown, is it?
Mrs. June Brown, June.
It is June, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can see it's not June Brown. That's .con. But yeah, when Shane and June sort of 2/3 of the way through the film, they start to have sex. And he has to go and
sort himself
out and think with one of the dodgiest special effects I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mayonnaise bottle that they squeeze real hard, real quick.
Yeah, it is.
It's shot like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, in my limited experience, that's not what it looked like.
All that pancake mix on the side as well.
Oh man, just Christ, it's pancake day that day.
But then that makes it. You know, that was something I didn't really pick up on. I didn't really sort of get that whole sort of, this is, you know, the whole, when they're reaching a certain point in getting fruity, that they start to get hungry kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's laying all those breadcrumbs, isn't it? and especially on that first watch. But it's absolutely true. I feel like it kind of does want to. I just want to scratch the itch of what is this thing. It's like you get that scene where June calls this woman, and then she seems to know both Leo and Shane, and it's like, I don't know who you are, and why do you both know? Why do you know both of them? And what's the relevance of this scene where suddenly June is falling asleep?
Yeah. Like, well, I didn't realise, obviously, when Leo goes to speak to this sort of older redheaded doctor, that's a flashback.
Oh yeah. You get a couple of flashbacks,
but the flashbacks don't feel like flashbacks.
No.
I didn't even absorb that it was, actually.
Because there's a couple. There's even a scene with a flashback with Corrie in it after she's dead, I think. Or, obviously it's set before she was fully sort of wacky with it.
Yeah. With Leo in the like the brain examination place.
Yeah.
He's trying to get him to help, and she's asked for a cigarette off of the female scientist.
Yes.
But you don't see her face, strangely. It's like they're trying to conceal her in that scene. I was like, why are they not showing her? Maybe she wasn't on set.
See, that scene, this is why I think with Claire Denis at the helm, and maybe it's just a sweeping statement to say if a woman's at the helm, they always have better intentions than if a man was directing the story. But because Claire Denis is telling this story, which is about just like unbridled nymphomania, sex, lust, kink, whatever you want, I think for me, what she's showing with this bloodlust is it's a forbidden love, whatever it is, and I think you could view it as affair on a very base level, like you're saying, Peter. When you revisit that story about how they were connected, like what was the backstory between Shane and what's her name, Corrie. That backstory, because you think, oh well, there must be more to it because everything that surrounds them is so huge, but actually it's like these two people found each other at a point, and it's kind of like this. It's kind of like an affair. If you take an affair which is forbidden, and you get two reactions to it. You get Leo, the husband of the woman who's cheating on him. His response is to lock her up so she can't. And then on the flip side, you've got Gallows' character, who is just in what seems like such a loving relationship, but it's all performance because she doesn't really understand what he wants, to the point where when they're having sex halfway through, he can't even come to completion. He has to go and sort himself out. And I feel like, in a way, that feeling when they both finally meet each other at the house, when he kills her, it's like, this is the only way I can get on with my generic marriage, because I need to eliminate you, this source of something that I can't get out of my head.
Yeah. But then I don't think what it doesn't really do very well in like I say, I think it's those connective tissues, is that you don't, the understanding is that he's there to get hold of Leo for his research.
Yeah.
But there are these sort of seeds sown about the relationship that he had with Corrie. And I mean, it's not much more than he says to somebody that he was attracted to her. Somebody, I can't remember which character it is, somebody says to him, did you love her? And he says, I was attracted to her and had this fascination with her, really. But there's nothing more than that. So you think it's going to lead up to this big, it's going to be more, that's going to be more important to the story than it actually is. And then when they do finally sort of join together, like, the gatekeeper and the keymaster, nothing happens. He strangles her, and that's it. And the house burns down. That's the end of that. There's no big, it feels like we're built on this story of these two sort of story arcs that are going to converge.
Yeah.
And they don't, or they do, but it's it's kind of like a damp squib.
Yeah, it is. It is underwhelming when that moment happens, because it feels like the two are destined for each other. But and you get these scenes in the film, don't you, where Gallows out with his wife, and he's doing essentially the Frankenstein walk in front of that church, and there's one or two other scenes where he's going up the stairs, and it almost looks like Nosferatu, like comparisons with Dracula, and it's like, this man is a monster because of his desires, and it's like you're waiting for these two monsters to meet, but then when they do meet, it kind of fizzles out, and it's just this human moment of, I need to eliminate you now. You're a threat to me, either to my marriage or you remind me too much of who I am. So you've got to go.
Which I suppose is a bit more of a humanistic ending to that story and to that point of the film. But then to me, if you're going to go, in my mind, it's like, well, what would happen if these two had sex?
You wanted to see this.
Them having sex and which one's going to eat the other one enough first.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a more interesting end to this film.
That would have been one hell of a bloodbath, yeah.
I mean, we got some breadcrumbs throughout this, and it was with the Leo stuff, because we have a history where Leo and Shane were doing research or something, and Leo, we get this article, and Leo is into this botany work where he's trying to cure like neurological like diseases or issues, and so to go from that, there's all these pills that people are taking as well, and how like Corrie doesn't want it. She throws the pills at one point, and so Leo's clearly was on a path to trying to cure something, because we go back to the all those scientists where Leo's talking to him, and he's trying to get the other scientists to help him, and he's like, no, and he's like, think of Corrie, right? At least think of Corrie. So are we under the impression that whatever neurological thing they had, this medicine that he was giving them has changed them into these bloodthirsty beings?
That's the thing, isn't it? You just don't.
Yeah, because the breadcrumbs are there. It's like I'm trying to make a link. And it's like, I don't know, because you're clearly taking pills for some reason.
As opposed to treating.
I don't know.
Well, I think that's what I mean. It's sort of a bit of both. You can't, you've got that, you could have that information without it feeling overly exposition-y or anything like that. And it quite simply written into the script, I think, without, it being taking anything away from the film. Because you don't know if they were like it already, and this treatment is to try and stop them being like that, or you also get sort of shades in the conversation that maybe it was something, because I think they're talking about, at one point they talk about, somebody's talking to Vincent Gallo's character and saying it was, we shouldn't have gone to human trials. So did he talk Corrie into being a guinea pig for something else? Maybe she had some early onset dementia or something like that, and Shane had given her something that he thought would make it better, and it's actually turned her into a
that's
cannibal.
what I'm thinking. Yeah, because she's in that scene in that lab, and she's fine. She's asking for a cigarette. She's not craving blood at that point. No. And to think that we're trying to help Corrie in some way, that's what he's trying to do, and that would only be with medicine, right? And then this is also the medicine that Shane's taken.
I feel like that medicine is almost metaphorical. It's like we don't understand, and we're looking for answers to stop these like perversions of the sexual norm from.
It is all metaphor.
Doing their thing.
100%. Yeah, that stuff's just metaphor for something else. Yeah.
I don't think, but then that doesn't help us sort of get, not knowing that maybe Shane had done something wrong, or he's overtly trying to help Corrie. It doesn't help us sympathise with him, I don't think.
No,
and you can't get on board with it, and this is where the Vincent Gallo performance comes into it for me, because I find him very sort of odious anyway, and I've seen certain interviews with him, and he's a bit of a cunt, basically.
He's such a cunt. You absolutely can, yeah.
Is he?
Okay.
Especially about Gallo, because he fucking is. He's horrible.
He is.
I got that impression.
And I think where it really works in this film with having Vincent Gallo in it is that he does creepy very well, because he feels quite naturally creepy anyway, and he looks like a rat.
Yeah.
But what the hindrance in that is that he's not likable, and I think the Shane character in the beginning needs to be likable.
Yeah.
Or have a certain degree of likability to him. But he's just so odious, and it feels like he's not even trying. I mean, I've only seen a handful of Gallo performances, and they're not great, but they feel like he's trying a little bit. Maybe it's because it's not his own work, and he just, I don't know.
Gallo can't help but embody this sort of personality, like where he's like, I need it to look like I don't care. You're right. He half didn't care, and he's like, I need to make it look like I don't care about this. Gallo, let me tell you this as well, though, Peter, though. Gallo is horrible, but I think I might have mentioned to you on the side many months ago, you said you were watching Betty Blue, and I had not long watched Betty Blue, which stars her, Beatrice Dowell.
Yeah,
she's the, well, I suppose the lead in Betty Blue, which is a good film, but the big thing that I struggled with was her performance in it, and I know she's meant to be very erratic and slowly degrading as the film goes on, but I found the performance too grating. So when I realised we were going to be watching her and Gallo in a film together, immediately when it started, I was like, "Fuck, you got your work cut out if you want to win me round." But both of them, Dowell, perfect in the role. Absolutely none of the traces from Betty Blue. Dowell is really good embodying that role, and you could say there is not a lot to do. There's a hell of a lot to do, because she barely says a fucking line. The entire performance is physical.
It's just 2 lines, I think.
Look at that. And Gallo, yes, he came on and just played Gallo, but the thing is, it made it easier to not empathise with him, because I don't know that Denis wants us to empathise with him. I found him, I don't know about you boys, right? And I'm not one of these people who uses this term a lot, but I found him incredibly simpy. On the plane with his wife, he's really curling up into her and sort of like going into her shoulder, and it's like, this is not a commentary on masculinity from my point of view. They particularly frame Gallo as this diminutive man with his partner. When they get to the hotel, he's like laying down and she's got to protect him, and it's like, oh man, you are this ineffective version of masculinity. And I think Denis, it's intentional. It's like showing you as this sort of like pathetic worm of a man in your relationship, and then showing the worst of men as well.
And he's impotent as well. He can't even finish.
He can. He finishes quite epically, just not with his wife.
Yeah. All over the chips.
I found that scene where they go in, where he carries her into the hotel room, and the maid's there making the bed. I've never seen.
Why is she making the bed?
No.
Why is she making the bed?
Very late in the day.
And then why is he late? Everyone's annoying in that scene. He's laying on it. Yeah. Get off the bed. Idiots.
Have some respect for
I bet that was
service
just Vincent Gallo doing that just to be a cunt as well.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the script.
She was actually a set decorator, and Vincent Gallo's like, fuck it, we roll now. I've got to go in half hour. Let's do it. But it is strange that so let's talk about that maid character, because obviously it culminates in this horrendous moment in the film. But if there is any sort of, because you mentioned it being a horror film, which I guess it is. It's one of those ones where the genre's tenuous, but the build-up with the maid is quite horrific because it follows all the tropes. You understand that Gallo has this unspoken desire. You see essentially a fresh young thing in his bedchamber, very close to him a lot of the time, and all these shots on her neck from behind. It's really loading that something terrible is going to happen to her. And then we see her stripped naked a couple of times as well, showing her vulnerability. So when it comes at the end, even though it is a kind of jarring moment, like a standout moment, which is, well, this is brutal, I think it's ineffective because we've been conditioned to expect it. Whereas what Beatrice Dowell does with that boy who comes into the house is, we know she has this unbridled desire, but when it happens and how it so, like, before your very eyes, so subtly shifts from this really erotically charged scene into something so uncomfortable, like picking at flaps of skin on his neck. Christ, I felt it.
Oh man, everything.
I felt it.
Felt it all on the lips when she's biting the lips. All of it.
I think it's the fact that he's still just there moaning after she's just ravaged him.
And it's like, is that when did it move from pleasure to pain?
Yeah.
It's like an orgasm that shifts halfway through.
Yeah.
She
plays it so well. She plays it very, very well.
But then, I mean, this is another sort of problem with what's going on kind of in the story, is that you've got these two young lads who I couldn't quite figure out, and still couldn't on the second watch. Are they casing the joint to sort of
like burgle it or something.
I think because he's a doctor.
Or are they aware that she's in? But they're stood at the window staring at her when she's banging on the window, so they know that he's sort of got somebody in there.
See, I was under the impression that scared them off the first time. That's why they didn't go in.
Right.
So when they go in the second time, they're clearly in like the lab bits and they're trying to search for all the drugs. So I think they're just druggies trying to look for the doctor's stash.
I mean, I suppose
house.
by that point he's boarded up the room, so that maybe they're maybe thinking that she's a prisoner. Then I suppose.
He wasn't thinking with his big head anyway at that point.
No.
He was like, "Oh, there's a hand coming through that board. Let me fucking come as soon as possible, please." I mean, you'd get splinters. In that scenario, there would be splinters. I know he started ripping at the boards, but you would be absolutely getting splinters in that moment.
I mean, it's absolutely true to life, though. An absolutely young boy with this woman sitting right in front of him, literally just saying, "I'm here. I'm ready for you." He's ready to tear those boards down and be like, "I'm absolutely here for it." So it does not surprise me.
I mean, Beatrice Dahl is just a fascinating looking woman as well. So it's not.
She is uniquely.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility that you'd just be.
There is a significant gap in her front teeth, which becomes distracting for me personally.
Yeah, I get that as well.
Yeah.
But it adds to her allure in this as someone who is quite, because I don't know, I suppose she's beautiful. I suppose she is. Like, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder.
She's definitely beautiful. Yeah.
But because of the tiny imperfections, these are the things that make her embody that role so well. Because it's like the idea of beauty, but not quite in traditional senses.
Yeah. But it's the power of the acts in the eyes as well, because you can see there's this wildness in her, like just her eyes when she's looking. It's like it's all in the face. Like that performance was great.
Well, it's the most. It's those sort of, it's like early on when Leo finds her in the field and there's the dead body, and then she just sat there sort of like really sort of lackadaisical and like a child almost. Whether it's this euphoria or. I mean, I suppose there is an addiction element to this film as well, which is like, after she's had that high and she's on the sort of come down, or she's still on that high. But like, and just when she started eating this boy essentially, and she starts just playing with, it's like playing with the food, literally playing with the food, and she's like going,
like giggly and everything.
Oh. But then even the noises that man makes, and then you couple that with the noises that she makes, again, they just, whether it's this sort of exultation or whatever the word is, this just joyous sort of orgasmic moment, or but it almost sounds like it's like the shameful cry as well. It's just it's I can't think of anything else I've ever seen like it in that specific scene.
It's definitely this kind of nymphomaniac kind of feel as well, because she doesn't like herself. She wants herself to die. She said, "I'm ready to die." But this like compulsion just takes over her. It's an addiction. She can't help herself.
But then it's like that the post thing. So and then obviously we get this sort of journey that Gallows then going to see her, but then she's just walking around and she's sort of put
blood on the walls
and some kind of formation,
and she's got a match ready to go.
Yeah,
she's already striking those matches, ready to burn it down. I think it's presenting kind of like Titan, where you've got women in positions of sexual power but doing horrific things. It's like this new framing of the female perspective in French cinema particularly, where we will present women with desires but in the most brutal way possible so that men can be afraid of it. We've seen women in horror films and in films generally like always the victims of male desire, like victims of ultimate brutality. Let's flip it on its head and show it the other way round and see if you can stomach it. If you can say she's not a villain, then you should be able to say that about your men when they're doing certain things as well.
And isn't that fascinating? Because you just feel like, okay, this is quite cool watching the woman do it, and then as soon as the man does it, it's like horrendous.
Yes,
it's very interesting.
It is interesting. However, we're not. But I think the point where it becomes uncomfortable with what Vincent Gallo's doing is when he actually penetrates, when he rapes her.
Yes, but it's setting it up because he's grinding up against all these women on the bus or on the train.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's setting up, and I was thinking at one point, are you going to kill this dog? Are you here to eat this dog or something? Why the hell are you getting a little puppy?
That would have been too far for you, would it?
Yeah, too far.
It's true. The little puppy in there.
He's already eating the pussy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's the sniff. I think there's nothing more creepy than somebody sniffing somebody. That is like...
Yeah. Let me inhale your scent.
Such a weird thing. And the dog's like between them. And it's like, what is going on with this guy?
I do think ultimately that the whole film is about the desires that everyone has or had or could have at some point, which are deemed taboo. But I think ultimately it comes down to, I think a lot of it is affairs and just the nature of men and women at certain points who just want to, sow their oats, etc. And how they are made to feel like monsters and become monsters because of what they're doing. And, rightly so to an extent, but there's lots of shades of grey. And I think what we're seeing is two characters here in a shade of grey, like magnified through this prism that Claire Denis does, and embodying it in vampirism or cannibalism. And that's ultimately the fascinating thing about the film is are they either of those things at the end, or are they just really fucking driven by desire?
Were you under the impression that the match set fire to the house, or she just combusted as soon as she died?
I mean, it was odd. A big flame went up, so she must have been standing by a sofa or a Christmas tree. One of them two.
A Christmas tree.
Hey, I've seen those videos, man. You set fire to a Christmas tree, your living room's gone in 5 seconds. It's the most flammable thing in a home. Topical. If you're listening, listeners, make sure that Christmas tree is kept away from any flammable substances. Peter, I know you got to take notice of that. You've put up your tree today, mate. So
yeah, the tree's gone up today. Yeah.
It's the
23rd of November, folks. 23rd of November. It's the new date for it.
It has to go up because the elf on a shelf. Next time my kids are here,
there you go.
The elf on a shelf will be here, and he can't arrive without the Christmas tree.
What's the elf's name?
The Divining Point. Oh God, what is it? Bobbity.
Ah, bibbity bobbity.
Well, there's a female one. I can't remember what the fuck that's called.
Do you have an elf on a shelf, Paul?
We do, yeah. Buttons.
Who names it? The kid or the elf itself comes in and says...
The kid names it. Woody names it.
It's not like a good guy doll and it
tells
you its name.
You should get one for Jenny, Ben.
Yeah.
It would probably satisfy her more than I could, yeah. I'd be having my Vincent Gallo moment and the elf on the shelf can step in.
It could probably satisfy her.
That'll be an interesting thing to find in the morning. That will,
it would, wouldn't it?
The elf's been icing.
Let me come back just for a moment because I want to list a few things. We've hinted at Gallo being problematic, and this is why I think we've got to say it in the context of a film like this. Some of the shit that makes Gallo a less than ideal person. So pick any of these things. I very much love listening to Charles Manson, very much so. But what I wouldn't say is that anyone who wanted to marry Charles Manson is a person in the right frame of mind. And when Charles Manson died, he was engaged to a woman who was in her mid-20s. And of course, the minute Charles Manson died, Vincent Gallo started dating her, and now they are fiance, engaged to be married. So that tells you a little something about Gallo's mind. He's anti-Semitic. He sells himself as gigolo online from his website, but I'm not
he does
shaming
what?
sex workers. Yeah, he sells himself $250,000. You can sleep with him.
Oh, right.
More than that, on his website, if you spend $1 million, you can get a sample of his sperm as well. So you can have a little Gallo child.
That'd be like a litre jug, that will, Jesus.
All that pancake mix.
I know, Christ, yeah. I wonder if he has a clip from this movie on his website alongside that. But even worse, he's a lifelong Republican and he's anti-abortion, which means if you get his poison gallows sperm and you carry his child, you've got no choice. The minute you put it in you're carrying it to term, as far as he says.
You wouldn't buy it for any other reason.
Anti-abortion, anti-drug, anti-alcohol, anti-all the good stuff, basically. And there is a very famous bit of movie trivia lore from a film. Well, Peter, you know it. Brown Bunny. So Chloe Sevigny, lovely Chloe Sevigny, is in a scene in that film where she is required to give Gallo a blowjob. And I mean, listen, I don't know all the details, but I can't help but feel like it actually happened, and I can't help but feel that Gallo was the one who insisted that it happened.
Oh man.
Well, they were dating at the time, and
right.
I don't think there's anything. She wasn't forced. She wasn't forced. But then I kind of get the impression that he would have maybe pushed it a bit more than...
I mean, if you love someone, would you say, actually do it in a movie, please?
She's actually said that she's actually said that she chose to do that because she wanted to get out of the Hollywood machine. Basically, because obviously by that point she'd done a lot of, or started to do a lot of Hollywood films. I think she'd definitely done like Boys Don't Cry by that point, and a couple of others. And she wanted to get out of that system, and she thought that would be a way to sort of control that sort of animal.
Foolish choices from young actors. That's okay. So it's all on all sides.
But it's still. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? That I think. It's probably quite unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's not... I mean, I haven't seen the film, but I have heard that. And you got to feel that it's probably not... Unless you're making like a Gaspar Noé Love or a Nymphomaniac where, you're portraying unsimulated sex scenes in a theatrical piece, then you don't really need to go that far, I don't think.
No.
There's enough tricks of the trade that you can use.
We get the idea of what you're doing. Don't worry.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what?
It feels like he's just being controversial for controversial's sake, and that's the impression I get of Vincent Gallo. I remember reading somewhere and him referring to himself as an auteur. And I always think auteur is very much like the word entrepreneur, where you don't call yourself that. And he very much has his own, or is building his own ego. I think.
Very high opinion of himself.
Yeah.
You wouldn't trust your kid with him.
Oh.
No.
Not with the way he looks, you don't. You said two names there. You said Gaspar Noé and you said Lars von Trier. They are two filmmakers who I feel, okay, they have the male lens as directors, but I feel like they tackle this subject matter much better than Denis does. I think Denis is blocked by this French sniffiness. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I think it embodies kind of the worst of French cinema, which is we're going to really try and make this abstract and aloof and inaccessible at times. But there's beauty there. I'll rail against it. You'll try and make it inaccessible, but I will try and find my way in. And I think there is some good stuff in there. It's just packaged up in a way that's not very accessible. And I think Noé and von Trier could have told this story, and Cronenberg could have told this story very, very well. It borders on it, not just the body horror, but like the sort of very cold atmosphere all the way in. That's Cronenberg's films, but like Pre-Fly, things like Scanners and stuff like that. Shivers particularly. It's just a very cold film, and it adds to the horror, and that kind of works here. But
then I think it's as a director though, I think it's a really fine looking film. I think in terms of some of the choices that she makes, because when you think Paris, you think of big romantic scenes and and landscape almost. but we don't really get any of that. It's like the start where this lorry pulls up. It looks like it's in the Midlands or something.
It does.
It's like, I was like, is
just
this
outside
not
the
set in France
services.
yet? But even in Paris, we get the shots of like rivers, but they're not just like picturesque images that we see. We get a little bit when they go on the top of the church and stuff, and the hotel's quite swanky. But then we also get the depths of the hotel and the sort of workers' quarters at the bottom and stuff like that. And some really interesting like transitions in the film as well. There's it again, going back to Lynch, it reminded me of the sort of Twin Peaks transitions, where you randomly get a saw or a waterfall or something like that. And here, we get like these things that are spinning and these brains in test tubes and stuff
very
like
hypnotic. The I don't even know what it is exactly. The cylindrical thing that's just spinning in that container. Very hypnotic.
Yeah. Well, there is another thing I picked up on the second watch was there's a lot of tapping in the soundtrack, or clicking, or just like a sort of a tone through the whole of the film, and it's really bizarre. And I really picked up on that on the second one, because you're just getting in every scene there's just something tapping near enough, which I don't know if that's meant to mean anything, or just unsettle you, or well, it didn't unsettle me because I didn't pick it up till the second watch, but
maybe on a subliminal level,
possibly, yeah.
I do think it is definitely very like inaccessible, but I do think it's very interesting. And like 3/4 of this film, I was in it, and I was like, I'm really enjoying the themes and like this. I felt the sexual energy was so high in the film. I felt it, and there was no sex, and I was like, it's strong in this film, just showing the kissing of the wrists, showing the necks, just the way things were shot. I felt it was very well done, and I think it was just the back end of the film, and maybe the fact that it doesn't all tie together or give you the conclusion you want, and the fact that Shane is just a gross person. As soon as he starts talking, he doesn't talk for like a little bit of time, and then suddenly when he's talking, I'm like, just don't talk. You just don't need to talk. You're putting me off.
What the whole thing of focusing on the necks and wrists and the licking of necks and wrists and stuff like that. There's a film that we've spoken about on Filmbusters before called The Worst Person in the World, where there is a scene where the lead meets a guy at a party and they're both in relationships, and they just end up down this rabbit hole conversation where they say, what can we do which borders on cheating but doesn't hit cheating? Like, where are the limits? And one of the things is touching in certain areas, with the wrist being one of them. And I just think, what is it? So the vampire film, they do suck on the neck and they suck on the wrist, where the pulse is, because it's close to the heart, right? But isn't it kind of fascinating that significant other met someone at a party or was kissing someone goodbye or something? They could kiss them on the cheek, could even give a quick kiss on the lips, bye-bye, kiss on the lips. But if that person kissed on the wrist down here, lifted the wrist and kissed there, you'd be like, that's fucking intimate. Yet it's so far away from this, which is the sort of the seduction area. This is where you engage in that. It's a kiss down here, and it's connected to things like perfume and cologne. You're obviously on the neck.
Yeah, very true.
And these spots, which carries the blood around the body and whatnot. So it's almost like these spots, which are so far away from us. Like you could take the hand and kiss it away, and that'd be intimate.
And both those places are the places where you check for pulse.
Yeah.
They go straight to the heart, so that's why they probably feel intimate.
Then no one sprays the cologne over their heart or kiss on the nipple. Yeah.
Yeah, but then in a certain situation, you might, or at a certain time in history, you might take somebody's hand and kiss the top part.
The top part. Yes, this is true. Yeah.
Which is quite veiny.
It is. Anyway, I think this is all about affairs. And I love it.
Well, I mean, maybe so the end scene, so the end sort of rape scene.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
But I mean, yeah, obviously rape scenes are very uncomfortable to watch anyway. But I couldn't figure out, and it seems like an odd choice, but whether she started off as consensual, or she just, it wasn't consensual at all. I couldn't quite figure that out because there's sort of moments, and it seems like an odd choice to not just make that, because they have been looking at each other, and she doesn't say anything up to a point, but it seemed an odd choice that you wouldn't make that overtly sort of consensual to begin with, I suppose. I don't know.
I agree.
I was under the impression that she was just living quite a sad life. She's just living in the hotel, washing her feet, she has to take the jam and stuff because she clearly doesn't have much of her own.
The little
She has a
jams,
boyfriend though, right? She has a boyfriend who keeps, But anyway, it gets to this point where maybe this kind of interest is happening, and it's something exciting's happening in my life. So maybe she did kind of, let me just go with the moment, and then clearly that's not what Shane wanted to do.
No.
But I think it's uncomfortable whatever way you slice your jam on that one, but
But it's intentional because it connects to the overall themes of the film, which is like, at what point is where is this consensual between two people, and where is this potentially predatory? When does it become something that she isn't enjoying because it's rape, and when does it become something she isn't enjoying because she's literally being eaten alive, kind of thing?
Yeah,
the conflation of it all. I think it's cool, and I think you're right. Going back to what you said right at the beginning, I think you're right in that it's when you immediately finish, you think, oh well, that was that, but it stays with you.
We get you then get Shane going and having a shower, and his wife comes back, finds the dog, and then goes into the bathroom, and you get this sort of one shot that she sees the blood.
Yeah.
The one drip of blood down the thing, and it's like, at what conclusion do you come from that? Does she sort of know deep down? Does she know that he's a rapey cannibal, or?
And is that drop even, just like you think you can cover up what you're doing, as in having an affair, but there's always this tiny trace. Like, this is you in a shower showering down after you've fucked some other woman. I know why there's that water dripping down. Yeah. I feel for her because she's actually the only sympathetic person in the film. Yeah. She's quite lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. Saying hello to the maid, quite polite.
Very nice.
Helping to make the bed, even though it should already be made.
I know. Yeah. I would definitely be asking for a discount at that fucking room rate. The room rate after that, my God. I found it very weird that the way they kept reiterating. I thought she was part of it because they kept reiterating, we're Mr. and Mrs. Brown. We're Mrs. Brown. Like, when they go to check in, he says, I'm Mr. Brown. And she's like, yes, and I'm Mrs. Brown. It's like, you don't need to say that. Why do you keep saying this? This is like some rehearsed performance.
Maybe it's the affairs thing again, because they don't want to appear like they're having an affair, maybe.
Well, there you go. Maybe they're not even really husband and wife.
He says to her, I like you. And it's like, that. Are you supposed to be married? You just like her.
Yeah.
It's like, you should be a bit more than that, really.
Yeah.
There was a strange kind of dynamic between them both.
There was. I do think that Claire Denis definitely has a obsession with men coming scenes, because we obviously have very infamous scene, the only thing I can really remember from High Life, which is similar circumstances with an actual machine.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that's considered very elevated drama or whatever. But
wonderful. Yes,
couldn't
on a
care less
spaceship.
about that.
Dildo room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to show my hand, but this is better than High Life.
It's better than High Life for me as well.
Yeah. It's the best Claire Denis film
I need
I've
to
seen.
go and watch High Life now.
I think you might. They managed to package High Life as something that people would actually want to see in en masse, because of Robert Pattinson and a sci-fi film. You think, oh yeah, super accessible. It's like, no, it's this film in space. essentially.
Does it? But does High Life have the sort of Microsoft PowerPoint Comic Sans title?
Oh my god, Comic Sans!
Mate, I've written it. I've got it as a fucking note up here.
Same.
Trouble Every Day song with Comic Sans credits opening us up.
What a way to start.
In 2001.
What did you guys think of the soundtrack?
I thought it was quite effective,
it was all right.
actually.
Yeah.
It was distinct.
all right.
It was distinct throughout, yeah. And it was all done by Tindersticks, whoever these folks are. They're a UK band.
It's very. I thought it was very apprehensive all the way through.
Yeah,
because it sort of stops, and a lot of the music stops and starts. It doesn't. It's not just a.
That's true.
A lot of the scenes don't have a full. Just score all start to finish. It sort of comes in, stops, comes in, stops, and it works to sort of portray some of the emotion. I think there's the scene where he's cleaning Corrie after she's killed.
Yeah,
there's one of the guys in the field, and it just feels so downtrodden, and the score really works with that as well.
I guess Leo is actually. I said that Mrs. Brown was the only one, but Leo is actually a sympathetic character.
Oh,
yeah. He's trying to improve the situation for sure. Yeah.
Bombing around on his motorbike constantly.
Well, that's it. But again, it's another sort of theme of the film, isn't it? Like, how far would you go for the person that you love?
Yeah,
and I think that's the overriding thing about the film is that there's too many metaphors and too much.
Yeah,
that it's trying to say, or thinks it's trying to say.
Stick with one. Yeah, nail one. Yeah.
There's something in there about how everyone reacts to desire differently, and what might be seen as societal perversions. Anyway, fuck Gallo.
Yeah, definitely fuck Gallo.
Yeah,
that's what we've learned. Yeah,
that is what we learned. It feels like a film. Partly because of how Gallo looks, but it feels like a film from the 70s. Doesn't feel 21st century.
Yeah.
Tash.
Yeah. Here's just a side note. So when I was reading on Wikipedia afterwards, when you read the plot synopsis, it says, after Corrie's death, Mr. Brown becomes strange and distant. And I'm like he fucking wasn't already. For the whole film up to that point, he's exactly the same, just an oddball. Fucking weirdo. He doesn't change at all.
No, he was actually trying to be nicer. He was like, "Oh, I'm fine now. Yeah, come, let's go home." After
fucking
he killed her, right?
simp. He's a simp.
No, that was after he had sex with her. That's after he raped her. That's when that was.
Terrible. Can't have me laughing when you say that's after he raped her. You got to warn me before you're going to drop that word. A hell of a job to edit around to make me feel decent.
I won't edit. Keep it in.
But yes, I don't think I said it on the actual podcast, but yeah, my main note, the only note from this entire film that I wrote in bold was towards the end, he's literally eating her pussy. Because I don't think I've ever seen on film that, and that was kind of innovative despite being absolutely horrendous and despicable at the same time. It's like, well, you're actually eating her out. Kudos.
I was thinking, is it happening? Is this actually happening? And yeah, what's happening?
I mean, her screams felt, great acting by her in that moment, because it's hard to convey. Now act like you're being eaten out literally. It's hard.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Shall we do closing comments?
I think it's about time.
Yeah.
Order of first impressions. Go for it, Peter.
I think it's just a very conflicted but well-made, bizarre, horrendous, and quite poignant film, I think. And do I give my score now?
You do.
I do. And I think if I'd have on the first watch, if I'd have scored it on that, I think it would have been a 5, maybe 6. But on second watch, for me, I think it's a 7. I think it's still missing a lot. I think I think it's a very good film, but it's missing bits that could make it an almost perfect film.
Wow,
there you go.
It's a good score. It's a good score.
Yeah, very good score. For me, yeah, I think it's a very interesting film. I love the themes that are explored. I don't think it's a complete story, and I get to the end and I think, I didn't really get much out of it, but it's still very interesting. But the biggest thing that it fails on is how much I hate Shane in the end, really. And do you know one of those films where, yeah, you're supposed to hate him, really. You're supposed to not like him. But it gets to the point where it's like, I really don't like watching you right now. And for that, it kind of pulls it down a little bit, and it takes it to the 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Well, yeah, I mean, I was like Peter, instinctively when it finished, I was low. I was 5 when it finished, but because of the thinking and because of the nature of the podcast and knowing that we would have a discussion about it and talking about it, I'm actually impressed that we got the conversation that we just got out of it. And it satisfies me enough that there's enough content there in it. So it's a 6 from me as well.
There we go.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, means that we average at a 6.33, and we're going to go to battle with potentially up to 15 films here.
Oh, shit.
I know. So let's see. Is it better or worse than the bottom 6.33, which is Eyes Without a Face? This is better than Eyes Without a Face for I.
I like it better, so it just has to place at the bottom till Adam watches it.
Oh, well.
That's the end of
shame.
that.
The next film it would do battle with is Solo.
Solo still would have beaten it.
There's no way Adam's giving this higher than a 6. So yeah, it's probably being stuck down there. Well, what that means, which I absolutely don't agree with, by the way, what that means is that it is below Eyes Without a Face, but above Wake in Fright, which is wild.
This is better.
This is where you
than Wake
skewed
in
it.
Fright.
Yeah. All because of the kangaroo scene has completely skewed Wake in Fright.
I despise it.
Have you seen Wake in Fright, Peter?
I haven't. No, I haven't seen that or Eyes Without a Face.
Wake in Fright, fascinating film. I genuinely think that you would get a lot out of it, but it has an incredibly polarizing, not even scene, like 10 minutes in it, which will absolutely lose the majority of people. And it very nearly lost me, but I'm, because of what I've read about it, I'm able to put it to one side. But it's a very good film, and it's a shame that that scene is in it, because it kind of just completely fucking splits people. It's definitely not getting shown in schools because of that scene.
Do you know what I've never asked you, Ben? If it was the same film, but cats instead.
Oh, mate. Don't even. No, I wouldn't. I would turn it off. I wouldn't be watching it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really need to watch this.
You do. Dr. Loomis is in it. Dr. Loomis is all over it. And it's in Australia. And there's loads of booze. And there are some of the wildest games.
Very grotty.
Yeah. It's hot American grotty. Highly recommend.
Australian grotty.
Well, okay. Well, that's that one.
Well, Peter, this now gives you the opportunity to shape up our tables a little bit, shake them up, and you get to add a score to any film we've done on the podcast before. So I'll just hand it over to you. What do you want to put a score to?
We've already sort of touched on this, maybe off mic, I can't remember now. But the film I'm going to go for is Joker.
Oh, he could really fucking skew here.
He's going to proper. It's high.
Well, it is high already. What does he give? What do you give?
I know what he gives it.
It's one of my favourite films the last 10 years, so it gets a 10 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Fucking hell. What does that do to it, Paul?
Let's have a little look. With a 10, a 10, a 9, and an 8, it gives it a 9.25. There's only one other film that's on a 9.25, and it's Mulholland Drive.
Oh, mate.
And it's
come on now.
Ninth spot. I like Joker better than Mulholland Drive.
Well, I like Mulholland Drive better. What does Adam say?
Adam give Mulholland Drive? I feel like he might give it a 10.
Well, he gives it a 9.
Oh, we're going to have to leave it up to Adam.
We're going to have to leave it up to Adam. However, we have someone temporarily, until we hear from Adam, we have someone here who has seen both films I don't know where you stand on Mulholland Drive, but I know where you stand on Lynch. So come on now, Peter.
I do love Lynch. And I only saw Mulholland Drive for the first time last year, actually.
Oh, mate.
But I've got to go with Joker.
Yes!
It's only temporary. It's only temporary.
Well, it's either going to be the new 9th or 10th spot of the whole
that's
podcast.
impressive.
That's
Back
amazing.
into the top 10. Back into the top 10.
Great work, Peter. Amazing work.
Well, it is amazing work. Recapping for ladies and gentlemen, our top 10 now is Mulholland Drive at number 10, Joker at number 9, Pride at 8, Aliens at 7, Home Alone 2 at 6, There Will Be Blood at 5, Home Alone at 4, Whiplash at 3, Cinema Paradiso at 2, and The Irishman, the best film we've ever covered on the podcast. I'm going to say it now. I could not tell you anything about the Irishman episode that we recorded, but I can tell you a hell of a lot about some of these low-rated ones, which goes to show it doesn't matter how high the film rates about how good the podcast was. Case in point, today, this was a great fucking record. This was a great episode, and the film was like
stuff.
down.
Amazing.
The film is. The film scores bottom half of the table.
Well, it was a great pick because it led to a great discussion, Peter. So thanks for bringing it to the podcast.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Great stuff. Well, we just got to tell people what we're doing next, I guess, before we start signing off. And do you want to introduce it, Ben? We've got someone coming on. We've got another guest.
We're backed up with guests right now. On the continued Adam holiday period, we are going to be joined by another podcasting legend. It is, of course, the person who brought us 2001. It is Julio, and we are doing our first English language film of the round. It is a big boy. We are going to be watching Donnie Darko.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen Donnie Darko, Peter?
I have. I haven't watched it in a long, long time.
Me either.
And I'd be interested. It keeps, because I think it's on pretty much all of the free sort of streaming platforms.
Mate, I wish it was.
And stuff.
I wish it was. I'm watching it tonight after we record. I'm watching tonight. You got to pay for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Fair enough.
There you go.
But yeah, I'd be interested to rewatch that, definitely.
Yeah, same.
The main thing I
Absolutely.
remember, well, there's lots of things, but the thing that sticks out the most is that Patrick Swayze, the wording is he has a kiddie porn dungeon.
Yes.
Just the fact that they say dungeon is hilarious.
Dungeon. We got all that stuff to look forward to.
We got it all to
in
come.
the next episode.
Yeah.
But all we got to say now, Peter, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yes,
You've
sir.
been a
Thank you
wonderful
very much
guest.
for having me.
And would you like to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes. Well, you can find me first and foremost at the Movie Duel podcast on all good social media platforms and podcast platforms and
Tell us about them.
else.
Give us a little bit about them.
Well, it's
Go on.
about our main episodes are basically we pick a subject. It might be the best of something, worst of something, overrated, underrated, sexiest, slimiest, anything
In the same episode, sexy and slimiest.
Yeah, the sexiest, slimiest.
This will appear. This film.
Yeah.
Romance
pancake
of the
mix.
60s. Yeah. And then myself and one of my rolling co-hosts, including the wonderful Jamie, pick a film that we think best fits that subject. And then sort of sliced in between those, we have our quick draw episodes, which have featured both Ben and Paul, where we sort of run through some of the old subjects that we've discussed on the podcast and get the special guests to pick what one they would have chosen for it. And I'm going to put out a plea on this to complete the set and hopefully get Adam some point in the future. I know he's notorious for maybe not doing these kind of things.
I would adore listening to that.
Oh, I love it.
We will get him in
be
it.
done. It's got to be done.
We got to strong arm him onto it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
You have. And then you can also find me at the So-Called X-Files podcast with Vanessa, in which we break down the seasons of the X-Files one at a time, discussing the mythology episodes and our 10 favourite Monster of the Week episodes as well. We're currently in season 2, just coming up to the halfway point of that. And then you can find me at Three Men and a Mixtape with the wonderful Ben and the fantastic Sean Panda Nicholson, where we create the perfect playlist for every occasion. We are just about to drop our second full episode, which is the Happy playlist.
Yeah.
And we recently recorded our special December episode as well, which I'm sure you can probably guess what that's about.
Beautiful.
We recorded it 2 nights ago, the Christmas episode, and jumped on the records like this prior to the record. And Pete was there in the Christmas jumper. And I'm like, I'm not having that. I can't just be sat here in hoodie and t-shirt. So I broke out the Christmas jumper. The earliest I think I've ever done it, midway through November. Sean had the Santa hat. Christmas came early. I guess Christmas came early for me. How did we not mention that? Fucking hell, what a song that is. We didn't even mention that one.
Even when we were talking about Vincent Gallo in the bathroom.
Everything's cyclical. Everything's cyclical.
That's the threads that this film needed.
Well, it is a joy. Yeah, it's a joy to have you on, and we love Movie Duel. Obviously, you guys know we've spoken about it before. We have a mutual friend, Jamie, who is always a delight to listen to. Mm-hmm. But it's great. It's great listening to the other hosts as well. Everyone brings something unique to the podcast. Tarquin, Nicole, Vanessa. It's a whole spread. And I really like the patrons because we get like big old round table with everyone chipping in, which is always fun as well.
It's always great.
So go and give him a listen, folks.
We've got some very special episodes coming up in the new year as well.
Oh, exciting! Teasing.
Very
great
exciting
stuff. We'll look at that wonderful trilogy of podcasts. Go listen to everyone. And other than that, thank you so much, Peter. And I guess it's time to end the episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I guess we'll see you next time on Donnie Darko.
Well, you'll hear us next time on Donnie Darko.
You
won't see us.
We'll be peering through the windows.
Not if I see you first.
Just like Corey. One in your blood. Give me that pancake mix. Give me that pancake mix.
This has gone south. This has gone south.
Dealbusters.